My girlfriend demanded, "Pay off my 75,000 in debt, or our wedding is off." She cornered me at our engagement party, listing all her expenses with a smug smile. I simply said, "Okay." I canceled our wedding venue the next morning. Her sister and I are using that money to elope to Italy next month. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and be part of the journey. I, Adrian, 34, male, had been with Cassandra, 31, for 5 years. I was the founder and head brewer of a successful craft brewery in Portland, Oregon, a passion project I had bootstrapped into a business that earned me about $115,000 a year. Cassandra was a high-end wedding planner. She didn't just plan events. She curated experiences, a skill she applied to our life with relentless precision. We lived in a rented loft in the Pearl District, a space that looked more like a magazine photo shoot than a home. Our social life was a calendar of her creation, filled with gallery openings, exclusive restaurant tastings, and parties with her network of vendors and wealthy clients. My brewery was often the backdrop, a source of free craft beer and a touch of authentic grit for her curated world. My friends, the brewers and tradesmen who helped me build my business, were rarely invited. Cassandra's younger sister, Alara, was the exception. A quiet, down-to-earth landscape designer, Alara often seemed as out of place in her sister's world as I felt. The first major crack in our foundation appeared when a massive beverage conglomerate made an offer to acquire my brewery. The deal was life-changing, a multi-million-dollar buyout, with the condition that I would move to their headquarters in San Diego for 2 years to oversee the brand's national expansion. My role would be a brand director, and it came with a salary of $300,000 a year, plus performance bonuses. I presented the offer to Cassandra, expecting her to be ecstatic. She was not. "San Diego?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. "To be a corporate suit in a cubicle. It's a director-level position," I explained. "And it would set us up for life." "My business is here," she replied. "My brand is Portland. You're asking me to give up everything to go watch you sell out." She saw my dream not as an opportunity, but as an inconvenience to her meticulously planned life. Update 1. I didn't push the issue. I told the conglomerate I was very interested, but needed time for due diligence. Quietly, I engaged a team of lawyers and accountants to analyze the offer, a process I did from a private office I rented by the hour. Cassandra, meanwhile, accelerated our wedding plans, using the theoretical future buyout as justification for increasingly extravagant expenses. When I tried to discuss the San Diego move again, she shut me down. "Adrian, we are not moving," she said. "We're building our empire here. Don't be so short-sighted." Her friends echoed her sentiment. At a dinner party, her maid of honor told me, "You can't just abandon your authentic roots. It would destroy your brand, and frankly, it's a little selfish." During this time, Alara became my only confidant. We would talk at family functions, her voice a low murmur of concern. "I'm worried about her spending," she told me one afternoon. "She sees your potential success as a blank check." I knew she was right. The day after that conversation, I opened a new series of investment and checking accounts under my name alone. I began methodically separating my personal finances from our joint accounts, building a firewall she couldn't breach. Update 2. The breaking point came at our engagement party. It was a lavish affair she had planned, held at a rooftop venue overlooking the city. She had been cold and distant all evening. Then, she pulled me into a quiet corner, her smile tight and practiced. This is when she delivered her ultimatum about her $75,000 in debt, a combination of student loans and credit card balances I hadn't even known about. She saw the brewery buyout as her payday, her chance to wipe her slate clean. My calm, "Okay," was not the reaction she expected. She thought it was submission. In reality, it was acceptance. I was accepting that the woman I thought I was going to marry saw me. Not as a partner, but as a financial instrument. The rest of the evening was a blur. I was polite, I smiled, but I was already gone. I spoke to Alara before I left. I told her what Cassandra had done. Her face was a mixture of sadness and wary resignation. "I'm not surprised," she said quietly. But I am so sorry. Adrian. The next morning, I made a series of phone calls. The first was to an exclusive winery in the Willamette Valley, canceling the venue we had booked for the wedding. I absorbed the lost deposit as a small price for my freedom. My second call was to my lawyer, instructing him to finalize the acquisition deal. My third call was to Alara. I told her the wedding was off. Then, on an impulse born of shared frustration and a spark of something new, I asked her if she had ever wanted to see Italy. Update 3, the fallout was nuclear. When Cassandra learned I had canceled the wedding venue, she unleashed a torrent of furious texts and voicemails. I didn't respond. I had already moved my essential belongings into a small, temporary apartment. The movers had cleared out my things while she was at a menu tasting for the now non-existent wedding. A week later, I was on a plane to San Diego. The contrast between my old life and new was immediate. I traded the gray skies of Portland for the relentless sunshine of Southern California. My company put me up in a corporate apartment in La Jolla, with a balcony that overlooked the Pacific Ocean. The rhythmic sound of the waves was a peaceful counterpoint to the chaotic noise of the past few weeks. My new job was demanding but exhilarating. I was not a suit in a cubicle. I was the creative mind, guiding my brand's journey, working with a team of marketing professionals who respected my vision. I was building something new, on a scale I had never imagined. The silence in my new life wasn't loneliness, it was clarity. Update 4. My first year in San Diego was one of intense focus and quiet healing. I poured myself into my work, overseeing a successful national launch that exceeded all sales projections. I found a rhythm to my new life. I learned to surf, I explored the hiking trails in Torrey Pines, and I discovered a love for the city's vibrant food scene. Alara and I had stayed in close contact, first through texts, then through long phone calls. She was navigating the difficult fallout with her family, who had initially taken Cassandra's side. 3 months after my move, she flew out to visit. We spent a week exploring the coast, talking for hours. Our friendship, forged in the crucible of her sister's drama, blossomed into something deeper. At the end of my first year, I received a performance bonus of $150,000. I used it as a down payment on a beautiful mid-century modern house in a quiet neighborhood with a view of the ocean. Alara, having decided to start her own landscape design business in a new market, moved to San Diego a month later. We were building a life together, a life based on mutual respect and shared dreams. Update 5. My company's marketing team ran a feature story on me in a major business publication. It was a profile of the craft brewer who had successfully navigated the corporate world, complete with a professional photo shoot in my new home. The article highlighted the brand's explosive growth and my new title, Vice President of Brand Development. The article found its way to Cassandra. The messages started arriving through third parties, since I had blocked her on every platform. They were a mix of feigned pride and desperate pleading. She had, I learned, quit her job to launch a freelance consulting business that had immediately failed. The $75,000 in debt had only grown. Her old friends, the ones who had called me selfish, also reached out with sheepish apologies. She told us you had a breakdown and that the corporate deal fell through. One wrote. The public success was an undeniable refutation of her lies. My family, who had been cautiously supportive, was simply thrilled. Update 6. She appeared on my doorstep in San Diego unannounced. Alara was at a client meeting, and I was working from my home office. She looked tired and worn, the polished facade of the event planner stripped away. Adrian, she said, her voice soft. We need to talk. I remained in the doorway, not inviting her in. There's nothing to talk about, Cassandra. I've changed. She insisted. I see now how wrong I was. That whole world, the parties, the money, it's all so empty. She looked past me at the house, her eyes wide. You've done so well. I was a fool to let you go. You didn't let me go. I corrected her calmly. You tried to sell our future to pay off your credit cards. You saw my life's work as your personal ATM. I was scared, she said. I felt like I was drowning in debt. I saw your social media posts from last year. I responded, my voice cold. The ones you posted right after I left. You were on vacation in Bali with your friends, hashtagging living my best life. You didn't look like you were drowning. You looked like you were celebrating. The fight went out of her. She had no response. You need to leave, I said. Update 7, her final gambit was a legal one. She hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit claiming she was a founding partner in my brewery, arguing that her event planning had been crucial to its early marketing. She demanded a 30% stake of the multi-million-dollar buyout. My legal team, the same one that had handled the acquisition, responded with overwhelming force. They produced our original business filings, which listed me as the sole proprietor. They submitted affidavits from my early employees and investors. Most damningly, they presented a signed contract from 2 years prior, where she had planned our brewery's anniversary party, and had invoiced my company for $20,000 for her services. It was hard to claim to be a partner when you had been paid as a vendor. The lawsuit was dismissed. She tried to take her story to a local Portland blogger, but my company's PR team, alerted to the situation, quickly and quietly shut it down by presenting the blogger with the same evidence. Her credibility was destroyed. Update 8. A year later, the last echoes of my old life had faded. Elara's landscape design business was thriving. My 2-year contract in San Diego was ending, and the company had offered me a permanent, high-level position. We decided to stay. Our life was a quiet routine of work, surfing, and evenings spent on our deck, watching the sunset over the Pacific. We were married in a small, private ceremony on the cliffs at Torrey Pines, with only a handful of friends and my parents present. Our honeymoon was 2 weeks in Italy, the trip that had once been a spur of the moment fantasy. I received one final, long, rambling email from Cassandra. It was a sad, pathetic account of her failures, her debts, and her regrets. She ended it by saying she was sorry for everything. I replied with a single sentence. I wish you the best, Cassandra. I meant it. Final update. A few months after our wedding, Elara and I flew to Portland to visit some of her old friends. While there, we had dinner with her parents. It was the first time I had seen them since the engagement party. They were quiet and reserved for most of the meal. Finally, her father cleared his throat. Adrian, he said, we owe you an apology. We always knew Cassandra was difficult. We enabled her. We taught her that what she wanted was more important than anything else. Her mother added, her eyes filled with tears. We are just so glad that Elara has found someone who values her for who she is. Their words were a final, unexpected gift of closure. The lesson I had learned was simple. A true partner doesn't see your success as their payday. They see your dreams as their own. They don't hand you an invoice for your future. They invest their own heart and soul into building it with you. My story ends here, in my home in San Diego. Elara is in the garden, sketching out a new design, and the late afternoon sun is streaming through the windows. My life is not the one I planned 5 years ago. It is infinitely better. It is a life built not on transactions but on trust. And it is peaceful.